Hi guys, it's Mark Zicree, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Mark Zicree of Space Command. And I'm up here with Elaine in Morro Bay, California, having a few days off with the dogs just to relax and recharge, watching Game of Thrones and This Island Earth and all these other wonderful, strange things, and walking by the ocean and having nice meals. And it's really a great time to just get our heads back about us. It's been a very intense few weeks. It's going to be a very intense few months and years ahead. As you know, we shot the Nichelle Nichols scene. We're going to be editing it this upcoming week and then running it by her team for their approval. So, which is fine because it's a wonderful scene. She did a wonderful job. I have no concerns about that. And then we'll be putting it into Forgiveness. So, watch this space. Meantime, we're about to launch a Kickstarter campaign to shoot the rest of Forgiveness, the 2-hour second story, and we're going to be building an alien hibernation ship and creatures and all sorts of stuff. It's going to be so cool. And there's more science fiction actors that we'll be announcing soon, people whose work you love, who will be terrific to have in Space Command. Meantime, I have my team, my editor, my VFX person, sound designer, composers, all working busy to refine the first hour and then launch into the second and finish the second hour. So we're going to get that to all of you as soon as we possibly can. Those of you who have ordered DVDs and Blu-rays, etc., you'll get them. Meantime, if you want to buy Space Command shares, they're available at $7,500 each. You can call me Mark Zicree at gmail.com, 323-876. Oh, no, that's 323-363-1259. And you can reach me and I can send you all the information. And but that's not what we're here to talk about. Lots of great stuff coming. But I wanted to talk about the last episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2. And, it certainly was frenetic. Let's see where to start. Let's start with the positive. I think the second season's better than the first season, in my opinion. I liked Evan Peck as Spock, Gregory Peck's great-grandson. He's, I guess, grandson. And he's really good as Spock. And Anson Mount, I thought, did a good job as Pike. Rebecca Romijn was number one, replacing Majel Barrett in that role, because obviously Majel Barrett is no longer with us, sadly. But though I did work with her on World Enough in Time, she was the computer voice on that, which was really terrific. And I saw her when I was a kid and went on the Star Trek set, so lots of very, very good memories of that wonderful actress who later married Gene Roddenberry. So, but in terms of Star Trek Discovery, the final episode was very, 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 it had all these whip pans that were supposed to be exciting, but they were really just kind of disorienting. And it was jumping between the two ships, and sometimes that was very confusing. You get to see the Enterprise bridge. It's cool looking. It's nice looking. The production design on the show is nice. The visual effects are very good. Costumes, very good. In all the production capacities, they're certainly working hard and they're delivering, and the money's on the screen. But here's some of the problems I have. First of all, just if you're building a starship, put the manual override for your blast door on the outside of the blast door, not the inside of the blast door. Because if you want to crank the door down, you want to be on the other side of the explosion. And of course, that's what catches the Admiral and takes her out of the picture. I was staying bravely. It was because she has to lower the blast door from the inside. It's like, maybe, just a word of the wise. Also, again, the plot twists and turns and twists and turns and twists and turns, and it's just like, okay, let's see if I understand this correctly. So Michael has made a second time travel suit using the Klingon time crystal to go into the future, open a wormhole, have the Discovery autopilot behind her so that they can send the rest of the knowledge that the Section 31 computer wants to destroy all sentient life. They can send that into the future. And I don't know why the Section 31 computer wouldn't just get the other time crystals for the Klingons, build its own time travel suit, go into the future. It's super smart, but okay, let's not go there. But then everyone on the Discovery says, no, we're going to go with you. So the episode that was the previous episode, which was entirely people saying goodbye to each other, is sort of irrelevant because they're not leaving each other, I guess. But, okay. And then also, so when Michael uses the time travel suit, even though it's silver, and the other one I believe was red, hence the Red Angel, but now they see her as a red energy, So that explains her being the Red Angel. Again, uh, it's just like throw it at the wall. And then she has to go back, and she's sending the 7 signals, which get all of them to come together here so they can win the battle. But then, of course, Leland gets onto the Discovery, and he's taken over by the computer, but then Michelle Yeoh manages to get him into the spore drive chamber and turn on, I guess, the magnet or whatever the hell, and kill him supposedly or torture him, whatever the hell. I guess kill him and as the nanites come out of him. But then if they're doing that, why do they then need to go to the future? God knows. God knows. And then also, by the way, if you're a super smart computer that's trying to not let anything harm the data, when they're outside trying to destroy it, the shields are up and they can't destroy it. But also, why doesn't it just keep the shields up so no one can beam aboard it and do anything with it? Seems that would be the smartest thing to do, but that's not what they do. Beyond that, Michael and the Discovery crew go into the 950 years into the future, and then everyone else left behind, Captain Pike, etc., and Spock have to say, well, no, it was destroyed, and she's gone, and she's dead. Okay, I mean, since our guys don't have time travel, why not say they're 950 years in the future, but we don't know what happened. But so I'm not quite sure why they're lying, except to have the canon work, which is why Spock never mentioned her. But that seems unnecessary because, for instance, he never mentions he's got a brother named Sybok, and the reason for that is because Star Trek V was a shitty movie, and the reason, of course, he didn't mention Michael in the earlier iterations of Star Trek from 1966 on was because the character hadn't been created then. And I think the audience is smart enough to realize that that's the case. And it's like, okay, she's a character now. She wasn't a character then. We don't need time travel nonsense to cover that hole because there's so many other holes that, I mean, why doesn't the Enterprise look the same? Why don't they wear the same uniforms? I mean, you can pick this thing to death, but you don't need to because according to my watch, it's 2019, not 1966. So obviously you're going to have differences in many ways. Yeah, but there they go. So what else? There was the thing with Hugh and Anthony Rapp, and that was kind of boring. It's like I love you too. That which is what Michael says to Spock, and Spock says to Michael. And by the way, a clue for young writers is don't write scenes where characters say, I love you too, because it's the obvious thing and it's writing about rather than taking the emotional journey that brings the audience in with you. The whole trick to writing well is to not say the obvious, to find the truth that comes from the heart and is genuine, rather than just writing the shape of something where you're just kind of doing head writing. And a great example of this, and they did the same thing in the 3rd episode of Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone. I love you too. And but if you look at something that's well written, like To Kill a Mockingbird, I don't think Scout or Jeb ever say they love each other. I don't think Atticus Finch says he loves them, but we know that they deeply, deeply love each other. And so it's conveyed, it's dramatized. Whereas here, it's the easiest way of you talk it to death. You talk it to death, and you say the obvious thing because, I mean, for one thing, they're under attack, Spock and Michael. They're under attack, and they stop to have this long, drippy, conversation about their relationship. It's like, oh man, really? You don't need it. There's better ways to do it. But anyway, c'est la vie. So, what else? At the end, we see the Enterprise bridge with, Rebecca Romijn as number 1, and Spock and Pike, Ensign Mount. And you sort of wish they were going to do that show next season instead of Discovery, because you kind of think, well, Spock's pretty cool and Pike's pretty cool, and number 1 has possibilities and so forth. But, I've heard that Ensign Mount is leaving the show. God knows what the 3rd season is going to be. Are they going to be 950 years in the future looking for her mom? I don't know. God knows what they're going to do. But okay, fine. Wherever they go, whatever they do, fine. What other things about this episode? I'm just looking over my notes. Yeah, they had people quipping during fight scenes, and that's a personal irritation of mine, a personal thing I hate when people quip during a fight because it undercuts the seriousness of the fight, and it's like, it just makes me cringe. And that's some of the main things about that to talk about. I mean, I'm going to be doing the Expanse. I think next time we'll be talking about the Expanse. I'm going to do an update on Space Command. Lots coming in the next few weeks and months. It's fun to look at the science fiction. I just watched This Island Earth, as I mentioned, and of course, I know Star Trek backwards and forwards. And one thing I was saying to Elaine, and I've said it before in Mr. Sci-Fi, the men, and in some cases women who wrote back then, Rod Serling, Gene Roddenberry, those people. They lived through World War II. I mean, Roddenberry was on a bomber. Serling was a paratrooper dropped into the Philippines. He suffered, shrapnel wounds. He saw his friends killed. He almost died. He thought he was going to get killed, and another soldier shot the Japanese soldier who was about to kill him. These people who wrote and created these shows knew death intimately, personally. They knew life and death. They had a personal experiences that informed their work. And so even though it was science fiction doesn't mean that you don't write from an emotional truth. It means that you're extrapolating to a future to take it out of the current day, the modern day, to make it universal. But you still have to find the emotional truth. Richard Manning, who was one of my bosses, he was an executive producer on Star Trek The Next Generation, referred to me as a method writer. And that was true, and a compliment, because it meant that I had to go into myself. I had to find the emotional truth that I could feel and live through in order to write it authentically. And Elaine is always on me to do that, always saying, can you make it deeper? Can you make it truer? What are you trying to say here? And I think that's very important, because if you're not careful, what you're trying to say gets completely muddy if you're trying to say anything at all, and it comes out like, what are they trying to say in Star Trek? We should all be nice to each other, or whatever they're trying to say. I don't know. But I liked it better when Hugh was someone who was not who he had been, where he had the memories but not the feelings of that person, rather than just coming back and saying, well, I love you and I'm going to stick around. I would have found it much more interesting to really explore what it's like when you don't know the person and you don't know that life, and it's almost like it's a show you watched and you don't feel the connection to it. So there's a lot of opportunities that are lost here in Star Trek Discovery, but that's okay. That's okay. It's still, maybe it'll be better than the third season. Who knows? We'll see. But in the meantime, I'm having a great time making Space Command and working on the other stuff I'm working on, which we'll be announcing very soon. And many things ahead, many, many wonderful things ahead. So thank you for being out there, for being my friends and my followers and my fans and my audience. I really appreciate all of it. And, if you want to throw some dollars our way at patreon.com/Mark Zicree, that's fine. If you want to support our Kickstarter campaign or buy shares in Space Command, it helps enormously. I'm so eager to build this alien hibernation ship and build this creature and roll camera. We roll camera July 1st, and there'll be opportunities to come visit the set. There's many, many wonderful things coming. So we'll talk soon, and that's it for now. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.